Hello everyone and welcome to the Music Professor channel. I'm Matthew King and this is Loki, and we're going to be talking about Erik Satie's fifth Gnossienne today, and this is partly because of the enormous interest in Satie in the last few weeks on this channel. We seem to have had an explosion of interest in a number of videos about Satie, particularly the first Gnossienne, but quite a lot of Satie stuff. And maybe it's because of the centenary of Satie's death, which was this week. I don't know what the reason is, but certainly the algorithm is interested. So while the algorithm's interested, I guess I'm interested. That's the most cynical thing that's ever been said on YouTube. So I know I really love Satie. I've always loved Satie, and in fact we produced a whole bunch of Satie videos last year, which weren't at the time particularly popular. One of them, about vexations, was an enormous labour of love from both Ian, the editor, and me, and we made this vast video. Do watch it because it's very, very long, and it has just about as much information about Satie in it as you could ever want to experience in one sitting. Very few people, I suspect, have watched the whole thing. Anyway, today is about the fifth Gnossienne, which is very curiously titled because Satie didn't call it a Gnossienne. He just wrote it down in the early 1890s. It's possible that it in fact predates the other Gnossienne. So it's early in the 1890s. I said in the last video about the fourth Gnossienne, the wonderful and atmospheric that one, which you must watch if you haven't seen it already. One of my favourite pieces by Erik Satie. What I said in that video was that this period in his career, and he was relatively young, he was seeking to create a sort of exoticism that was connected to Hungarian music. And I don't know how much Hungarian music Satie knew, but it seems that he was interested in officially writing a Hungarian piece, but he never did. What he did instead apparently was write a couple of piano pieces which later became Gnossienne. And one of them is this. It's possible, therefore, that the curious style of this piece is influenced by Hungarian music as well. I said that about the fourth Gnossienne. This is different. It has this wonderful melody. You've just heard me playing it with these sort of arabesques all over it, wandering arabesques, and this lovely harmony that kind of moves around diatonically, but it's sort of like a bunch of cadences, a lot of them plagal cadences, and it just feels inexorable. It has an inexorable plodding quality, which is so marvellous because it can literally go on forever, like so many of Satie's pieces. In fact, you could play it on a loop and it could go round and round, just like Vexations, and that would be rather delightful. But the thing I was going to say is that it's influenced by Hungarian style in that there's a sort of arabesque, a rubato, a free arabesque quality. Music without bar lines. This is very much a characteristic of some aspects of Hungarian folk music. The music of Eastern Europe also contains fabulous and complex rhythms, irregular rhythms, and all sorts of amazing rhythms, which of course influenced 20th century, specifically through the music of Béla Bartók, who is one of the greatest composers of the 20th century. And the reason why his music has such marvellous rhythmic force and vitality is partly because of the influence of folk music. Bartók was a great ethnomusicologist. But here's an example from Bartók where he's setting an ornamental melody that slightly resembles Satie's. I'm going to play it partly because it's so beautiful. It's called the Peacock. And you can see something of the same quality. We've talked a lot on the channel about Satie's preference for music without bar lines, literally without bar lines. But in Hungarian folk music, there is a sense of a music that is almost like speech, that doesn't really have a metre at all. Bartók's arrangement that I'm going to play, he gets around it by having all sorts of changes of time. That's very typical of Bartók, to frame it in a very specific way. But it's beautiful music. Have a listen. Isn't that fabulous? Bartok setting a Hungarian folk song in this wonderful, free, embellished way. And I think it's that style that influenced the kind of thing that Satie's doing in the fifth Gnossienne. On the subject of Bartok, he may very well say to me, well, Satie and Bartok never knew each other. However, turns out that, this is from the memoirs of Francis Poulenc. Poulenc in 1922, so 3 years before Satie died, invited Bartok to come for dinner. He was in Paris for the first performance of his second piano concerto. Bartok's second piano concerto that many pianists have declared to be the hardest piece in the whole repertoire. But there was Bartok, who was himself a fabulous pianist, much better pianist than Erik Satie was. And Poulenc invited him to come the same evening as Erik Satie. So Erik Satie and Béla Bartok met at Poulenc's house, and the guy who's interviewing Poulenc asked the question, he says, what an idea to bring together two composers so diametrically opposed. What happened? The sparks must have flown. And Poulenc responded, not at all. They looked at each other as a Martian would look at an inhabitant of the moon. So it seems that they didn't have a lot to say to each other. And annoyingly, it seems they didn't talk about Hungarian music. And they didn't settle the question that I've raised, was the fifth Gnossienne influenced by Hungarian music? Anyway, while we're sort of going all over the place with this, because it's fun to do this, the other composer that I might now mention is Igor Stravinsky, a composer who was heavily influenced by Satie in the 1910s. I think that the fifth Gnossienne influenced Stravinsky. I think it influenced passages in The Soldier's Tale. And it also influenced this lovely little waltz that Stravinsky wrote originally for two pianists to play, but here's a version for piano solo. And it has this ridiculous vamping figure that just goes from C major to the dominant seventh and back. It was dedicated to Erik Satie. And there's a particular passage in the fifth Gnossienne that I think influenced it. Let me show you that passage. It goes like this. It's the terrific bit where Satie moves from demi-semiquavers to here to triplets, and it has that lovely the fourth E A. Remember that E A. So that passage. I'm sure Stravinsky loved it because of the skipping rhythmic character, the switch from demi-semiquavers to triplets, and the little fourth that gives you an added sixth over the top of C. It's delightful. There's something unexpected about it. Here's Stravinsky's waltz that he dedicated in 1917 to Erik Satie. So I'm just playing you the opening tune, but you can hear those notes, the C major with the E A, had a kind of curious impact on Stravinsky, and you can hear it in his sort of delightful. The thing that's so amazing about Stravinsky in all his music, and this is a particularly striking case, is that he's able, I can't think of any other composer who can do this, he's able to sound as if he's both ironic and sincere at the same time. The music is both playful and serious. It's really fascinating. But that's for another discussion, because I've got to talk about Stravinsky. There are so many videos to make about him. If you want me to talk about Stravinsky, please say so in the comments below. I need to gather a chorus of approval to that idea. So anyway, What am I going to say about the fifth Gnossienne? I think I'm going to stop saying anything and let the music speak for itself. In a moment we'll have the animated commentary with the wonderful fifth Gnossienne playing. And before we have that, let me just say, if you like this video and you like what we're doing on the channel, please subscribe and press the little bell so you can get updates. And check out ways of donating to the channel, because we need your donations in order to keep the channel going. We love delivering free content to the world, but we do need donations to keep us going. Thank you for watching. Enjoy Satie's fifth Gnossienne.